Is your life currently reflecting your values? How have your values changed in the last 7 years? And are you resourced by your life? Resourced with money and time and love, companionship? These are questions we'll be looking at today. Welcome to Our Waking Dream. I am your host, Coco Swanson. I'm really happy that you're here. Each week, I go over a basic astrology theme in a way that we can embody, that we can distill the lessons from the metaphor at play, which is what we do with astrology. It's a current, it's an embodiment of metaphors, cycles of metaphors that are happening within and around us. And so that if we start to learn, we can embody the attributes that allow for us to move with the current of energy versus trying to move upstream. Over on cocoswanson.com, I have all sorts of new offerings brewing, really deliberately created to allow my work to be accessible in ways that are free and that cost less. So you can jump on to the newsletter, and that will create an invitation to the next Solutions Lab. If you have problems that you'd like help solving live, that's every other Sunday, and it's complimentary, it's free. And then I have a new membership platform I'm excited about. That's the Leadership Studio, and it launches mid-April. So more on that, cocoswanson.com, and information below. Okay, that said, let's get going on the astrology this week. I'm focusing on Uranus in Taurus. I feel like I have enough of a breathing room between really big, big full moons or big new moons or big ingresses when a planet changes signs or is retrograde. We have a little break this week so I can talk about a larger planet that's making a longer transit and that's about to change signs. And that's Uranus, that's been in Taurus for the last 7 years. Each planet has its own time that it takes to move around the zodiac. With the moon, for example, it moves around the zodiac every month, where the sun takes 1 year to move around the whole zodiac. Uranus takes 7 years. So when we're looking at how Uranus, the planet of awakening, the planet of universal truth, the planet that represents the future, that represents the galaxy, intergalactic, universal truth. It's an awakening. It is a lightning bolt that brings awakening into patterns that aren't meant to pass the test of time. So Uranus, if we fully embrace Uranus visiting a zodiac sign, that embrace will involve a lot of change, because our status quo ways of thinking and being as humans, a lot of our status quo ways of perceiving and being are not actually in alignment with universal truth and regenerative practices. I throw in regenerative practices because Uranus has been in Taurus. And so whatever sign Uranus is in, it brings about that grand awakening for the 7 or so years that it's in that sign. Taurus is where Uranus has been. And so all things Taurian are and have been receiving what can be a rude awakening. So let's talk about what Taurus represents. First off, Taurus loves stability. It's a second sign of the zodiac. It's after that first burst of life with Aries, and Taurus brings it in. It's an earth sign. It's a first earth sign, and it's all about stability. It's about regeneration and growth. It translates into resources, how we're resourced, clean water, clean air, or not clean water, not clean air, our body, our senses, our relationship with the earth. It's all earthy. It's beauty and aesthetic too. It's all things that are of the earth, of resources, of that Taurus enjoys to be stable. I pause there because Taurus really does love stability. But Uranus is a planet of grand awakening. By nature, I would not call a lightning bolt an instrument of stability, rather than it's an instrument of change. So when we bring a lightning bolt into an area that likes stability, it can be deeply uncomfortable. So let's look at how we have all collectively been in a space of instability and shifting of values. Taurus represents our values. And how has everything, I mean, let's just look at how has money in your life and in the world become less stable? So looking at job security, at income, of how we're making our money, how has that changed in the last 7 years? How about our relation to health and our bodies? Can we think of anything that happened in the last 7 years that brought our health and our relationship to our bodies and what nourishes up? What nourishes us up? How about housing? Rent, housing prices? Are those unstable right now? So you're catching the drift? There's a lot of rude awakenings in Taurus at a collective level in the last 7 years. And I'm curious about what in particular has really impacted you. Because we all have a different natal chart unless we're born at the exact same moment, the exact same time. And our natal chart is so whatever the current transits are, it plays like a geometry game with our natal chart, and it can light it up, especially, for instance, if you have aspects in Taurus, you just got slammed at some point in the last 7 years around awakening. Depends on what is in Taurus and where it's at in your chart. But we're awakening in the realms of resources. Is this landing? Yay, landing, Uranus, Taurus, material world, instability, change in values. How have your values changed? Are you resourced by your life? These are questions that we want to bring into this week, in addition to the following questions. Also, what used to feel secure in your life, in your career, in your family, in the world that doesn't anymore? It's another question to bring in. And what have you had to completely rethink about your life that 7 years ago seemed set in stone? What could you used to rely on? It's like something that you just thought would be there for your whole life that's just not. Because whatever we value, when it starts shifting, that can be a challenge for the mammal that we are, the little one. She or he or they that needs stability in order to feel internally resourced. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Practices to help us build internal resources in a world that's falling apart. We need to be coherent in our body, in our mind, and our heart in order to activate the potential of our body, our mind, and our heart to resource us from the inside out. So if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, and burnout from the stress of the last years, I suggest that you look inside with really simple techniques. This technique in particular is super simple to start reclaiming the resources that we have inherently just by being human. And so I suggest that if nothing feels stable right now, that you bring your actual body to something that does, like a tree. Nature always is a place to go. When we feel unstable, we can tap in through breath and just through presence to the stability of something as simple as the tree that's outside. Or gosh, the stability of what it's like to be a blade of grass in the wind. When you feel unstable, go outside. Even for just 2 minutes, it can be a micro break. And the micro break's intended to allow your nervous system to anchor into something that allows for your nervous system to reconfigure to a place of peace, a place of ease, which can happen from the inside out. It doesn't always need to happen from you getting the job you want or the conflict resolving as though in the way that you want it to, or money coming in. You can feel resourced by going outside, tapping into a nervous system of another living being, a blade of grass, a little plant, a tree. And then you allow your breath and your physical contact, come into physical contact with something outside through appreciation and openness to realign internally through breath and through co-regulating with nature. When you co-regulate with nature, you naturally start to regenerate. It's inevitable because nature regenerates when it informs your energy through simply being in nature and inviting your energy to be recalibrated. It happens. And so if we become resourced internally in a way that's authentic and current, our life can't help but start to reflect that. Practice number 1, inquiry. Practice number 2, build inner coherence through breath, intention, nature. And practice number 3, we couple with practice number 2. If you are really craving more, meaning more connection, more time, more money, more regeneration, more stability, we have to feel into possibility of what that would sense like. Like, what does it feel like? What does it look like to be resourced? How have your values changed in the last 7 years? Spend time pondering that, but when you feel resourced, after you go and spend time with nature, after you come back to your breath, the intention of coming back to internal coherence and a sense of being resourced internally, that's when we start daydreaming about how your values have changed, about how fulfillment would feel. And I suggest that you write about it. You write about it as if it's already happening now. I can't believe how fulfilled I am. And then you feel into that. What does it feel like? And to feel into the deeper attributes, like I feel ease in my breath. I feel peace in my heart. I feel a sense of belonging, like a puzzle piece that fits into the puzzle. What are your values? Mine get pretty lofty. I intend that every breath somehow resources all, or that every penny that I make helps all of humanity in some ways. It's I get I'm suggesting some more whimsical inquiry, because why not? Why can't our values involve whimsy and miracles? Why can't my values reflect the fact that I know that energy creates form? So if I'm sourced and resourced with energy of love and of peace, and that, say, I'll do another one, every time I let go of a grudge, more resources come into my life. This is where we get creative. Why not? We need creative solutions right now. Uranus is a planet of innovation, of aha, outside of the status quo. And in Aquarius, which is Uranus's sign is Aquarius. And that's a whole nother story, but we're really entering into a large phase of Aquarius. So now is the time to get to know what authentically resources you, how your values have changed, to resource yourself moment to moment by your breath, with nature, with your hands, with your gentleness, with your intention, and to start daydreaming, dialoguing, and journaling about ways in which your values have changed and that you'd love to experience fulfillment. That, like, our dreams, when we're daydreaming about best case scenarios or worst case scenarios, or anywhere in between, we're planting seeds. We're out there saying, this is what we can create. My mind, our minds create the architecture of what we can create. So we might as well allow the shift in our values to change our daydreams and our imagination of what's possible for our lives, our careers, and the world. And go big or go home this next month, because Uranus leaves Taurus on April 26th and 7th. It will shift into Gemini for the next 7 years. And it was in Gemini in July. It just moved back into Taurus for a final sort of boom in Taurus. So between now and April 26th, the end of the month, perfect time to explore how your values have changed, what disruption has hit you hard, what stability feels like from the inside out, and what fulfillment might look like, feel like for you going forward. I think that's it. I think we're at the end of today's lesson. As always, thank you for being here. Please share this with anybody who might need it. And also anybody that's needing support, send them to my newsletter, because you can come on for free. I'll do an hour every other week of free problem solving with the Solutions Lab. Okay, until next week, big love. And I hope that the assimilation of this works really easily in your life. Until next week, bye-bye.
Thank you for being a part of our community here at Our Waking Dream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Fill my cup and let it overflow. Let it overflow with love.